It is that time of year for us to look back and reflect on the year that was. Let's look back on 2022. We'll talk about what happened, what didn't happen. Give us time to reflect on the year that was before we begin 2023, because as anybody in the music industry knows, nothing happens between Thanksgiving and January because everybody in the music industry is lazy, which means the year is effectively over, even though we have another month left. And my overall thoughts on this year is basically, I feel like, I don't want to say that nothing happened because stuff did happen, which we'll talk about, but it didn't really feel like that big of a deal. It felt like, 2020, obviously a crazy year for lots and lots of reasons, for like everybody, not just music. 2021, I felt like, there were some interesting things. There were some breakout artists. But 2022 just kind of felt like just another year, I guess. Almost like we were on pause, kind of. I don't know, like we were just kind of going through the motions, I guess. That's kind of how it felt to me. But let's take a look at what happened and what didn't happen. And you tell me if maybe I'm wrong. The biggest thing I noticed is that I felt like there weren't really any breakout artists this year. Nobody really sort of rose from obscurity or like came out of nowhere, or, kind of didn't really feel like, at least in rock, like didn't really feel like there were any breakout artists, which was kind of disappointing to me. However, the breakout artists of, I would say, like 2020 and 2021 definitely did make some waves. For example, Spirit Box continued to do well. We saw them kind of continue on the path to success that they started back in, I don't know, I guess 2020 is probably their big year. Lorna Shore as well had a lot of success. They blew up in 2020, obviously, with To the Hellfire. But I think this year is when they really proved that they were more than just like a one-hit wonder, right? Like, so To the Hellfire blew up in TikTok in 2020. They put out a couple songs after that, but that was just an EP. They didn't have an album, and they hadn't really done like a headlining tour and stuff. So it was kind of like, this was the year for them to prove that they were more than just a TikTok band, which I think they did. They sold out this entire tour. It was whatever. This is like 30 dates or something like that. A full US headlining tour with Aborted, Ingested, Of Sulfur, and this other band whose name I can't remember or can't read. They sold out the whole thing, which is pretty cool. And I think that really proved that they were more than just the TikTok band. So that was cool to see. And, you don't necessarily have to have big breakout artists every year, because part of the story is you want to see when someone is a breakout artist, can they continue that momentum, which Lorna Shore did. So that was cool. Another band that's been around for a long time, obviously, but continued to have kind of a breakout moment this year was Motionless in White. They've been around since 2010, something like that, like well over a decade. But they're one of these rare bands where they get better and better and better and better every year. Not common for a band to get better and more popular 12 years into their career, but that is exactly what they did. So their album that came out this year, Scoring the End of the World, ended up hitting number 12 on the Billboard Top 200, which, as far as I'm aware, is their highest chart placement yet. Number 1 in current rock albums and hard rock albums. If I was in a band, I would just want people to refer to my band as hard rock. People are like, oh, you're in a band? What do you play? I'm like, it's like screamo and hard rock. That's what I would tell them. Cool to see Motionless in White, a band that they've just been, grinding. They've just been 2006 they had an EP. Okay, so maybe they've been around for 15 years. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, Motionless in White, obviously not a new band, but it did feel like they sort of had like a breakout moment this year. I think this is the year where they really cemented themselves as like going up to that next level. Polyphia, another band that's been around for quite a while, since I think 2010, 2011. Again, continued to have more success. Their latest album, Remember You Will Die, came out and hit number 33 on the Billboard Top 200, which I would say is pretty damn good for a band like Polyphia that's that weird. It's or at least up until this point was instrumental, like nerdy math rock kind of stuff. So to hit number 33 on Billboard, I would say is pretty damn good. And I would say musically also, in my opinion, it's their best stuff. they've continued to get better and better and better, but I really, really like this song ABC off this album. This is what I wanted Polyphia to sound like all along. They got guest vocalists on most of the songs on this album, and I think this song is the best thing that they've ever done, in my opinion. They proved that they could be basically a pop band that still did the shred stuff, and it worked. Great video too. I think this song is awesome. So shout out to Polyphia for that. Excited to see them continue to kind of, keep climbing the ladder. Turnstile, also a big moment for them. They've been around for I think 12 years now, something like that. 2010, I think, is when they started as a Trapped Under Ice side project. This is when Trapped Under Ice was like the coolest band in hardcore. The singer of Turnstile played drums in Trapped Under Ice, and they originally just kind of started off as this kind of, Baltimore hardcore band, and made waves instantly with that because their first 7-inch was fucking awesome, the Death Grips one. So now they've been doing their thing for over 10 years now, kind of, again, getting a little bit bigger every year. And I would say this year, they had quite a breakout moment. One of the things being that they are in a Taco Bell commercial. Their song Holiday in the Nacho Fries commercial. I don't know who's pulling the strings at Taco Bell or their ad agency, but nice move getting Turnstile in the commercial. My wife saw this and she said, "We got to go to Taco Bell. I want the Turnstile fries." So we immediately went to Taco Bell and we got the Turnstile fries. Gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed. They weren't bad by any means, but I don't know. I was whelmed. I was not underwhelmed. I was not overwhelmed. I was just whelmed. It didn't blow me away. I thought it was just okay. Either way, very cool to see Turnstile have that moment. It is interesting now, and everyone was so excited about this. Like, Turnstile's in the Taco Bell commercial. It's so cool, which it is cool. I just think it's very interesting that that's like the culture now, in a good way, that now when a band has some big moment of like commercial success like this, that people are excited about it, as they should be. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you be excited about this? This is like a huge moment for Taco Bell, or for Turnstile, to work with a giant brand like Taco Bell. In the past, in the 90s, people would have hated on them for this, like a hardcore band doing so with Taco Bell, but why the fuck not? Like, why shouldn't they? I think it's cool. So that was a moment. Highlight of 2022 was the Turnstile fries. Another interesting moment that happened this year is, speaking of bands that blew up in 2020, Electric Callboy, formerly known as Eskimo Callboy, changed their name to Electric Callboy. I did a whole video about this, so I won't go into like too much detail about it, but basically they were originally called Eskimo Callboy when they started. They're a German band. They started in 2009 or 10, I think. They became aware of the fact that there are a lot of people who find the term Eskimo to be offensive because it's considered a derogatory term for a lot of Alaskan natives. And being German, they started when they were teenagers in Germany. I'm certain that they didn't know that. So when it was brought to their attention, they basically said like, hey, we didn't know this, but now we do know it. And it's never our intent to hurt anybody's feelings, so we're going to change our name. So they did. And there are people who said that that was them caving into the woke mob or whatever. I don't see it that way. I think that they were just doing what they thought was right, which is like, they're nice people. People said, hey, the term Eskimo bums some people out. Did you know that? And they were like, no, we didn't know that, so we're going to change it. I thought that was cool. And also, they nearly made it onto Eurovision, which is a big deal in Europe. Obviously, nobody here in America cares about it, but Eurovision is sort of like, America's Got Talent or The Voice or something, but each country in Europe has an artist that represents them in this, singing contest or whatever, and it's a big deal in Europe. They almost made it onto Eurovision, and they didn't. But still cool to see that they almost made it. Again, it's another one of these moments, kind of like Turnstile being in a Taco Bell commercial, where you're like, hey, like, people care about our music. Like, people outside our world care about our music, and that's cool. Somebody in the chat here put it well. I'm happy to see the crabs pulling down the other crabs in a bucket thing slowly disappearing. I mean, there's still definitely some of that, but it is cool. Like, when people actually celebrate success, like, that's cool to see, right? So I think the Eurovision thing is another good example of that. Another interesting thing that happened this year is the popularity of Stranger Things as a way to, like, basically discover music. And so what I thought was interesting about this is, like, the first example of this was the song Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, which was used in season 4 of Stranger Things, which I think is, like, if not the most popular show on Netflix, it's definitely, like, one of the most popular ones. It was very anticipated, like, super popular with people of all ages and stuff. So this song from 1985 by Kate Bush was used on season 4 of Stranger Things, and basically, like, made the song a hit. Like, it went to number 2 at this time. It was number 2 on Spotify's top 50 US chart, number 4 on its top 200 global chart. Streams increased by 990,000%. So it was this, I wouldn't say obscure, but kind of obscure song from 1985 that certainly no young people were listening to. And because of this show, it blew the fuck up, like, pretty much overnight. And I found this interesting because it sort of reminds me of the power that MTV had in the 90s and 80s, or that video games had in the 2000s. Like, think of how many bands ended up getting that next notch up in popularity because of Tony Hawk or Guitar Hero or Need for Speed or MX versus ATV, any of those just massively popular mainstream media properties that could just blow a band or a song up overnight. They kind of didn't really exist for a while because nobody watched TV. You know, basically in the last 10 years, TV has been pretty much irrelevant. And so what we're seeing is that Netflix is kind of the new TV, and it does have that same ability to blow up a song like that. Kate Bush being one example of that. Another example of that is, of course, Master of Puppets from Metallica, which was used in this scene. I've never watched the show, but apparently this Eddie Munson guy, I guess, is, like, fighting the bad guy by playing, like, his favorite song. I guess he's, like, a metal dude. Where are you going next? Where are you going? Here it is, rocking out. So again, same thing. Metallica, obviously super popular band that's been around for a million years, and everybody knows them, but a whole generation of kids discovered this song specifically through Stranger Things. So you see it, you know, blowing up on TikTok and stuff, and there was the usual effect of the two camps of people. On the one hand, the metal fans are always saying, oh, I wish metal was popular again, but then when something like this happens that makes it popular again, they get mad. They're like, you're not a real fan. You just heard the song on Stranger Things. You don't really like Metallica. But either way, I think it just goes to show how valuable it is to get this kind of mainstream exposure. And I've said this a million times, but I'll keep saying it. We should be happy when this kind of thing happens. This moves the needle. There's going to be literally, like, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of kids who got into metal because of this exact show. Like, I got into metal because I heard Suicidal Tendencies on MTV in 1990. That was what got me into all this stuff. And there's going to be somebody in 10 years that says the same thing. There's going to be some band where they say, how'd you get into metal? And they're like, well, actually, I heard Master of Puppets on Stranger Things, and that's what got me into all this. So I think it's interesting to see Netflix have that same kind of effect that, yeah, Headbangers Ball or the Osbournes or Guitar Hero, any of that stuff. It's interesting to see that same kind of effect. And I do have to wonder now, are managers and labels and stuff now going to be fighting to get their music in Netflix shows? I'm sure that they will. And of course, TikTok has been around for a long time. And we've known for a while that TikTok has the ability to blow up an artist like pretty much nothing else. What I will say is that I feel like in the past year or so, I feel like the TikTok effect has been happening with metal in a way that it didn't really before. So it happened with lots of rap and pop songs, but we didn't see metal too much on TikTok, but we've seen that quite a bit in the past year. One example of that is the song Mary on a Cross by Ghost. which trended. I have no idea how or why that ended up trending on TikTok, but I thought this was pretty funny. You know that a song has like really hit the mainstream when you see shit like this, like a Spider-Man edit using a Ghost song.
Just a kid. You go down just like Holy Mary.
Poor Tobey Maguire. He's just a kid. Even though he was like 32, he's just a kid. I don't really understand what the song has to do with it, but in either case, we should be excited about this. Again, there was the same conversation here of like all these Ghost fans being mad because, you know, the TikTokers aren't real fans of Ghost. Well, listen, we all start out as a poser. So if you find somebody who gets into your favorite band because of TikTok, don't be an asshole to them. You should be excited about it. You should be happy about it, because at the end of the day, like, we should want more people to be into this stuff. So be excited when something trends on TikTok. For example, Pierce the Veil. That's another band that's been around for a long time. I think they've been around for like 20 years or something now. And their song King for a Day, which is an old song. That song's from, I don't know, 2013 or something like that, randomly started trending on TikTok. I thought this one was really nice. This is one of the more popular ones. These what's this flag? I don't recognize that. Is that like El Salvador or something? Nicaragua. So these Nicaraguan girls look like they're, you know, maybe 12 or something like that, doing this silly little challenge in their bedroom. And this has like 1.8 million likes. And I really like this. I mean, this is really, I really appreciate this kind of content. Just super unpolished. This is just like kids having fun in like their spare bedroom, you know, super unpolished, shaky camera. Like, this is what we should want. These are the people who really drive culture. And I know that might sound crazy to say, but, you know, getting like 7th grade girls into this kind of music is what makes it relevant. Because remember, when this kind of music was at its most popular in the 90s and the 2000s, that is when teenage girls were into this kind of music. So we should be very, very happy to see them getting into this stuff. And the guys in Pierce the Veil are definitely happy about it, because they hadn't put out music in like 5 years. This came out. Now they're more relevant than ever. Like, TikTok has this kind of power. And you can see here, I like this, hiring you guys to direct our next music video. Very cool of them to show some love to the kids. And I think it's cool to see this stuff happening, kind of reviving interest in old guitar bands. And that's right. You should be very happy if your favorite band becomes successful. Exactly. If you're a fan of Pierce the Veil, you should be happy that they're successful. More recently, another one that happened was Just Pretend by Bad Omens. This just happened like in the last month or so. I really like her commentary here. At the beginning, it says, something has been a little different lately. And then she says, metal bands are trending, the metal community is growing, and people are becoming more open to the genre. I think that's exactly right. And it's been very interesting to see that. Feels like every month or so, there's some new metal song trending on TikTok, and you can see the lift. I mean, like Bad Omens, all their shows are selling out and shit. It's real. The TikTok effect is super real. And I always love to see when you can tell that it's really transcended outside of metal people into like normies. For example, this one, the lyrics are like, I'll see you at the bottom or whatever it is. This is like, you thought divorce would break me. It didn't. You know that the song has transcended the metal community when these 30-year-old normie dads are making TikToks about how they've overcome divorce to your song. That's how you know you've really made it. When the newly divorced 30-year-old dads are on board with it. Divorce dad energy is indeed rough, but that's when you know that you've really made it. Also, we got to shout out the Cringe Hall of Fame for this year. Contender number 1, San Quentin by Nickelback. Oh, about to do some shit you ain't never seen before. Speaking of divorced dad energy, people thought this was going to be a metalcore song. Oh no, this is not a metalcore song. This is pure divorced dad energy. Me and the boys going down to Tijuana. We're going to rock and roll so hard, you're going to have to throw us into San Quentin. Number 1 contender in the Cringe Hall of Fame. Number 2 contender in the Cringe Hall of Fame was Kid Rock's We the People. Hell yeah. Fuck Fauci. Kid Rock still mad about masks in 2022. Out here ranting about Fauci, simping for Trump in 2022. Let's go, Brandon. Big chorus. Let's go, Brandon. Fuck Facebook. That's right. Thank God Kid Rock came along to tell us that Facebook isn't cool anymore. Thank God. I thought Facebook was still cool until Kid Rock made me aware that it's not. Number 3 contender in the Cringe Hall of Fame for this year is Emo Girl by your man MGK.
High fishnets and some black boots, nose pierced with the cigarette perfume.
I still want to know what this thing on his chin is.
Disguise, and she knows all the words to the trap song. I fell in love with an emo girl.
MGK, the 32-year-old dad, fell in love with an emo girl in 2022. That's right, and he's about to win a Grammy for it. That's right. He is nominated for a Grammy. I hope it happens. I hope MGK wins a Grammy for this song because you know how many views I'm going to get for a video called MGK wins rock and roll Grammy for Emo Girl. You know that means money in the bank right here. I got a baby on the way, so I am praying for MGK to do literally anything so that I can make a video about it. And I got to say, Emo Girl, it's a strong contender for gold medal in the 2022 Cringe Olympics. I was ready to give it to him until just today. I was ready to just hand that gold medal to MGK for the Cringe Olympics. But then, just today, this happened. We got a late dark horse entry in the Cringe Olympics that I think takes the cake. And here it is. Kanye West talking to Alex Jones. Here it is. The winner of the 2022 Cringe Olympics.
To be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. I love everyone, and Jewish people are not going to tell me. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
I love that he said especially Hitler. Everything he said up until that moment was bad enough, but the fact that he said pause, especially Hitler, really just, this really brings it home. Especially Hitler. Listen, MGK, I'm sorry. I know you're looking forward to taking that gold medal in the Cringe Olympics of 2022, but your man Ye came in with the dark horse win at the last minute. I think he's going to take this one home. Probably ended his career with this one. I got to be honest. Other big news, Blink-182 back, and speaking of Turnstile, going out on the world tour with Blink-182 is Turnstile, Rise Against, The Story So Far, and Wallows. I don't know who Wallows is, but that's a big moment. The new song, I would say, was not fantastic, but people are excited about this. Not so excited about paying $1,600 or, whatever the crazy prices that Ticketmaster is forcing everyone to pay on the resale market for these tickets. But still, I think everyone's excited to see Blink back in action, and super cool to see Turnstile and The Story So Far out with them as well. I'm a big fan of that. Another big reunion, Pantera. I mean, it's not really a reunion. I guess that they've sort of clarified that really it's more like a tribute to Pantera, because obviously without Dimebag and without Vinny, it can't really be a Pantera reunion, right? I mean, they're like the heart and soul of Pantera. So it's more like a tribute with Zakk Wylde from Ozzy Osbourne and Black Label Society on guitar, taking Dimebag's place as much as anybody can, and Charlie Benante from Anthrax on drums. So I know there's a lot of people who are kind of skeptical about this. I'm not. I mean, if there's anybody on the planet that can fill Dimebag's shoes, it's Zakk Wylde. Right? So I have absolutely zero doubt about that. Charlie Benante is an awesome drummer. I have zero doubt that to the extent that anybody can fill their shoes, which I don't think anybody can. I think those two are irreplaceable, and I'm sure that Zakk and Charlie would agree with that. But to the extent that anybody can fill their shoes, Zach and Charlie can. My question is Phil. How is Phil going to do? I think he's more of a question mark than Zach or Charlie. Hopefully he treats it with the respect it deserves. And they're going to start playing some shows pretty soon, doing the festivals, going out with Metallica. So that was big news. Another big reunion was My Chemical Romance. I was kind of surprised by this. They put out this song 6 months ago, The Foundations of Decay, and it was not great. Not great. Very weird mix. Sounds like something off their first album. Kind of more like post-hardcore than what most people were expecting. Sounds like it's recorded in a tunnel. Whether you liked it or not, I was expecting more from them. I thought maybe this would be like sort of the precursor to a new album or another single that was going to come out, but no, this is the only thing they released. I don't know why. People obviously very excited for the band to put out new music, but definitely not what I was expecting. I'm excited to see them back in action, of course, but not really what I was expecting. Hopefully they'll have a new album or something next year, but still big news to hear new music from My Chemical Romance in 2022. And lastly, I would say maybe the real flagship event of the year, speaking of My Chemical Romance, was the When We Were Young festival, which happened about a month ago in October, headlined by My Chemical Romance and Paramore, plus, if you're 32 years old, pretty much every other band that you listened to in high school. For example, AFI, The Used, Bring the Horizon, Taking Back Sunday, Dashboard, A Day to Remember, Avril, Sleeping with Sirens, blah, 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 blah. Amazing lineup. If you recall, everybody is saying this is a scam. It's not going to happen. This is going to be Firefest 2.0. This is bullshit. Well, they were wrong. It did happen. The first day was canceled due to the wind, which obviously was unfortunate, but nothing anybody can do about that. It was a 3-day festival. The other 2 days went off without a hitch. I mean, the lines were long for food and merch and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not perfect, but it did go off, more or less without a hitch, aside from the 1 day of wind, which nobody could have done anything about. And they have announced the 2023 lineup. And to me, the most notable thing about this is that it marked the official beginning of the emo nostalgia era, just like the hippie stuff. My parents were hippies, and all the corporations started using hippie songs to sell insurance back in the 80s and early 90s. And then hair metal became a nostalgia thing years after that, with the Motley Crue boat cruise or whatever. Now it is your turn, millennials, 32-year-old elder emos. It is your turn to have your youth commoditized, commercialized, and exploited for profit. It is your turn. Welcome to the club. It happens to the best of us. Your edgy childhood is now just an opportunity for corporate profiteering. Make the ever forward marching of time stop. Hey, trust me, if you figure out a way, I'm first in line. I would love it. So that is the 2022 year in review. I look forward to 2023, but really, more than anything, I would just can we just make time stop? I'm sick of getting older. Can we just chill with the whole getting older thing? I'd like to just keep it where we're at. That's what I would like. But happy 2022 to everybody, and I wish everybody a joyful, wonderful 2023.